All right. Today on the podcast, we have a very special guest for you. He's coming all the way from down the hall at the podcast next door, Mark Bell's Power Project. He is the co-host of Mark Bell's Power Project. His name is Nsima Inyang. Is that how I say it? Did I say it right?
I don't risk it.
Listen, we just call him Nsima. It's kind of like Madonna. He only needs one name.
Mm-hmm.
No further explanations needed. He is a natural bodybuilder, a jiu-jitsu brown belt, who's competed in the world championships and a lot of other great things. He is a stud. He's jacked. He's more than tan, and he's a wonderful human being. Ladies and gentlemen, Nsima.
Fighting out of Sacramento, California.
Woo! What you gonna do?
Better. Stronger.
Son of a bitch.
Faster.
Oh yeah!
Yeah.
With a smile,
Yeah.
and you'll do great. Like, one of the things I absolutely love about you is you're always happy, and you're always mellow, and you're never like, I don't know, you just have this air about where you don't like need to talk shit about anybody.
Yeah.
Even we talk about the are we recording, by the way?
Yep.
Oh, we're rolling. So we often talk about these natty or nots, and you kind of get mad because you're a natural lifetime bodybuilder,
Yeah.
but you don't really like being like that guy's on steroids, right? You're not into that.
Okay. Well, one of the first things is technically I can't even be like that. Well, unless it's super obvious, I can't say that guy's on steroids, plainly because of what I've been able to do. And that's going to sound really, I try to say this in like the most non-asshole sounding way, but I've gotten to 270 pounds.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I've been stage lean at around 230, and I am aware of what my progress looks like to other people. That's why people think I'm on drugs. So with that being said, how can I then say a guy that's maybe similar to me is on drugs because I've been able to do something somewhat similar to that? So he's on drugs? Why was that? That doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So that's also my perspective on that. If anyone, let's say, thinks about this, my perspective with what I've personally been able to do is one of the reasons why, for example, with Mike O'Hearn, I can actually believe that because of what I've been able to do. That's why I can believe he is. But I get why people think he's on drugs, especially people who they haven't trained for a long time, or the industry has just fucked them over so many times because of so many people that have lied about being on drugs. So I understand the perspective of someone thinking Mike or myself or anyone is on drugs. I get it. I'm not gonna argue with anyone over it because I get it, but it is what it is.
Yeah, and I think that like Mark and I kind of agree with you in a lot of ways because we weren't nearly as shredded or jacked as you at your age, but we were really strong. We could both bench press 500 pounds before we touched steroids.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. Like no,
That
like
is.
I understand that. Like that's nuts.
Yeah.
And most people can't do that. And when I was doing that, I was training with Mike O'Hearn for a lot of that time. And I saw how hard he works. I see how hard you work. And I see how hard Mark works. And the one thing I notice with all these high achieving performers is they put in a lot of work. Like nobody's just slouching through being lazy and looking amazing, you know? And so regardless of whether people are taking steroids or not, you know, there's a lot of hard work. But what I wanted to know from you is what is the reason for staying natural?
I've mentioned this before, but I started learning about training when I was like 13. That was before YouTube. That was when I first started watching YouTube, I was maybe 19 or 18 or 19 and started with like the Hodge twins, some Chris Jones, some Matt Ogus. But all the time while I was learning about all of this, nothing about steroids, nothing about TRT, nothing about any of those things was popular yet. So for me, at that time, let's just say by the time I started watching YouTube videos, I was already, like by 16, I was around 220 because I had stopped playing soccer, I got injured, blah, blah, blah. But when I started focusing on training, I started just kind of gaining muscle and I was already at a good place. So there wasn't even a point where I was offered, like no one is like, here's some steroids. But when I really understood that that was a thing, I already made so much progress that it was a non-factor. It wasn't something that I was like, I need this to get to this next level, because for me, I was already competing in natural bodybuilding, and I know everyone's like drug tested. That doesn't mean drug free.
Yeah.
But they did urinalysis. They did all this testing.
I've been here when the drug testers came into the gym and
Yeah,
said,
yeah,
hey,
yeah.
it's a surprise pop quiz.
Uh-huh.
Pull down your pants.
Yeah.
And you tested and you were fine.
Yeah.
So, like,
but again, that
Yeah.
just means I cycled
that,
off.
yeah.
That
That just
doesn't-
means it was test suspension,
That just means it was test.
which you don't even know about. So he makes a face. He doesn't even know.
You know, the funny thing is, like, people think I'm acting when I don't know about drugs and stuff. But it's like, since again, that was never my thing, I never did the research into it to learn about all the different compounds and shit. But again, the reason why I've chosen to stay natural is because when I was lifting, that wasn't a focus and that wasn't a factor. And I made a lot of progress without it. So it's like, why am I then going to go into this world where there are so many unknowns, where there's compounds that I don't know how I'm going to react to it? Guys get back knee, guys get some emotional things that happen sometimes. Why would I put myself through that when I don't need it?
Yeah.
I do think, though, that if I grew up and I was a young guy in this era of fitness and YouTube and TikTok, I think I might have been on TRT early on, just because it seems that young guys think that everybody's on TRT. And if I was a 16-year-old kid, number one, I wouldn't even have the money.
Yeah.
But if I was like, well, all these guys to get to these stages need at least some TRT, and that's a given, that's a fact, and a lot of these guys think it's a fact, I don't know if I would have avoided it. And I say that truthfully because, like, you know, when you're young and dumb, you'll do whatever you can to make the most progress possible as fast as humanly possible. So I can't say that I would be if I was growing up in this era, but because I grew up in another era with less information, it just happened to be the case.
Yeah. Early on, we've known you for probably like 10 years, around close, right? 8
Started
years.
training at Super Training at 2015.
Yeah,
so
pretty long time.
we're actually 14.
Almost 10 years.
Yeah.
What I find really interesting is, like, you came in and, like, right off the bat, I remember we used to, like, come in wearing, like, stretchy jeans and deadlift like 700 pounds, and we would be fascinated by you. But what do you think it was that Mark saw in you? Because, like, early on, and Mark doesn't do this often, he took such a liking to you, and I think he's doing that now with Kenny Williams, our guy that works in the warehouse who just won his first bodybuilding show.
And he did win the overall. So he
won
won
the
his
overall.
class and the overall. So
Yep.
fucking congrats to that dude.
And so, you know, he took kind of the same approach that he took with you. He's like, hey, I want you to be involved. I want you to be here. I want you to be on my podcast.
Yeah.
How do you think, like, how did that all evolve?
Well, it actually started off, the first time I came to Super Training was in early 2014. It was a seminar with Omar, Mike, and Mark. It was actually a live podcast, I think. And I remember asking a question in the audience, and I remember Omar was like, oh, that question was way too weird or whatever. So I just remember I asked a question.
Weirdo.
Exactly. I asked a question that seemed kind of weird, which is why when I went to the LA Fit Expo, I went there on my own in 2015 so I could network with people and meet people, because I was trying to, like, meet people in fitness. Mark saw me at Barbell Brigade, and he remembered that I was from Sacramento. So it's not like he remembered my name. He just remembered, he's like, you're from Sacramento, right? Come to Super Training. Because at that point, I wasn't going to come to ST. I don't even think I knew it was a free gym. So then I came down to ST, and then I started training. I think it was a really good change of setting, just because at the place I was training at before, I was the strongest in the gym, and I was stagnating because I was the strongest in the gym. But once I came to ST, I was one of the weaker guys in the gym, which is why I actually gained strength pretty quickly, because guys like Marcus, Mike, Mark, all these guys were giving me different pieces of advice to help me get stronger, and it helped me get stronger.
What are your numbers in powerlifting? I know you deadlifted like 700 pounds, like kind of recently, like a year
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah,
when
yeah.
CT Fletcher came in here.
Yeah.
He squeaked out a 700 pounder. You said it was kind of tough.
Actually, it was 685, and the reason why, actually, it wasn't very. I pulled something in my back when I did it, but it moved really fast, so it didn't actually feel
I was
hard.
gonna say, it looked easy. You said it was hard though.
Yeah, but the funny thing is, I wasn't deadlifting much before that. Like Mark told me that I want you to deadlift when CT comes. You think you can deadlift something big? I'm like, let me test out some shit for a few weeks. So I started reworking my deadlift. Yeah. So I just started kind of bringing my deadlift back, and it was still there. But it was still there because I kept things in my training that would still allow me to deadlift, even though I wasn't deadlifting. But my numbers when I at my powerlifting meet, my first and last meet was Reebok record breakers. I did 755 on the deadlift, 622 on the squat, and like 390 something on the bench. I didn't get 4 or 5.
That's a hell of a squat for a first timer.
Yeah.
You know, that's a decent.
Yeah, and it was fast. Everything moved easily. Mike was actually handling me at that meet, Mike Farr, and he did a great job in terms of helping me pick out numbers.
Yeah.
So he was super helpful. But I think, you know, when I came to ST, everyone helped me out and everyone helped me get stronger. But when it came to like working with the guys, I legit was just like, hey, let me just, do you guys need someone to sell some slingshots? I'll fucking drive out. The first thing I did was like, if you need help, let me know. I don't even need to get paid. So I drove out to the San Jose Fit Expo and I just slang some slingshots with them. And then over time, we started doing more stuff together and just continue to progress.
I remember the most fun we ever had, I think, was when we went to the Arnold slanging slingshots, and I was selling kratom. Remember, I had the.
That's the first time I think I had a potion.
Yeah,
yeah.
I've never seen you so happy. We were like, gave you those potions. You're like, woo!
Yeah, dog. That shit got me lit, and then it was good.
So
most potions feel great, dude.
Let me ask you a question, because you do. What's so impressive, and the reason I wanted to have you on here is you do so many awesome things. You're like. What I would think is like for somebody like Jake, who's Mark's son, is 18.
Yeah.
You're like the perfect person for these kids to look up to.
Well, thank you.
And I'm dead serious. Like you're on a big podcast with Mark.
Yeah.
You provide a lot of great information. You also ask a lot of great questions. You're generally very curious.
Yeah.
And you're not a know-it-all, which is great because most people that are jacked and ripped are like, yeah, I know, learn about. Like you're genuinely fascinated by things. I
learned very quickly that I'm not the smartest in the room.
You are a what belt in jiu-jitsu?
A brown belt now.
Brown belt, but you won the national. What did you win?
So at IBJJF Worlds as a blue belt, I got second place. I've won a few tournaments, but the big tournaments that I've won that matter to me are Pan Ams and Worlds. And I got second at Pan Ams as a blue belt, second at Worlds as a blue belt. At purple belt, I was only able to compete at Worlds, and I lost like my third match because of stalling, which is fucking annoying. It's infuriating, but I still lost. I didn't even podium at purple belt. But now I'm a brown belt. I haven't competed yet. So the big thing for me is like I want to win Pans and I want to win Worlds. Those are the tournaments that matter. I've won a lot of tournaments in the past, but they're not that stage. Now I've tapped a lot of really good jiu-jitsu players. Like I've tapped the guys who've managed to win Worlds.
Yeah.
But it's a match. So like that's the really cool thing about jiu-jitsu and that's what actually gave me a bit of confidence because I've managed to tap some of the best guys in the world in competition. So I know that my skill level is there.
Yeah.
I just need to show it on the right day.
Yeah.
And then I can have the goals I want within the sport. So I feel good about that.
You had a match with Chad Wesley Smith, am I correct?
It was a super fight with Chad.
How did that turn out?
It was good. I won. I tapped him, I armbarred him, and I was a purple belt.
He's one of the strongest people I've ever met. Like if that guy grabs you,
oh yeah,
he's got you.
His joints are so thick.
Yeah, he squatted 9 something at one point.
Yeah, he's done some insane numbers. He's super strong, and he's still super strong. I think when we rolled, he was about 290. So he downsized a lot because in powerlifting, I think
he was huge.
Yeah. But he was still big, so I was actually quite worried because I was like, I've never rolled with somebody as big and strong as Chad. So it was a curiosity thing because I'm like, how is he going to roll? But it wasn't a very hard match. And I don't say that again, trying to sound like an asshole because it is an asshole thing to say, but it wasn't a very hard match. And I attribute that to the technique of Cassio, who we just really had on the podcast, Cassio Wernick, he's my coach over at Cassio Wernick Jiu-Jitsu. And it's technique. And on that day, like with Chad, even through the match, my mouth didn't open. You know what I mean? I wasn't tired. I was able to sweep him a few times, and then I armbarred him, and it was cool. It was really cool.
Yeah.
So yeah.
You know the term "strength is never a weakness." I'm sure you heard that. Did you know that came from jujitsu?
I didn't know.
Yeah. So basically, like what happened was, I had a girlfriend. Her name's Carolyn. She was, 100 pounds soaking wet.
Yeah.
And she was I want to say a purple belt, or what's the second one? Is this
Blue belt is the second.
She might have been a blue belt. So she was a blue belt. Her brother actually had tried out for the Ultimate Fighter and stuff like that. But he basically didn't make it in the house because he gave up his back on some stupid move that he did. And then Dana White's like, "You're out of here."
Yeah.
But anyway, regardless, so she and I were talking one day, and we were like at a bar with all my friends, and she just kept saying, like, "Yeah, but it's all technique. Jiu-jitsu's all technique." I go, "Carolyn, you weigh 100 pounds. If you grab my arm, I could literally just throw you across the room, right? Like, and I'm not going to do it, but I could."
You could.
Yeah. And so she was arguing with me that her brother didn't need to get stronger for jiu-jitsu. And I said, "No, strength is never a weakness." I just said it, and then it clicked, and I go, "It's awesome."
Oh, that is actually sick.
I think I just said it to Mark one day, and it was on. Mark was like, "That's amazing." So and then Mark added, he thinks everything through a million times. He goes, "But wait, weakness is never a strength too, right?" I'm like, "Yeah, you could add that on," and now he uses that all the time. But
yeah,
I think it's interesting that it came from jiu-jitsu, because the idea was yes, it is all technique, like you said. Technique is very, very, very important.
Yeah.
However, if you both have a good technique and one guy's stronger or one guy's faster, there's an advantage there.
There's an absolute advantage. Like, if there's two guys at the same skill level, same belt, same weight, but one's stronger than the other, out of 10 matches, the guy who's a bit stronger will win more of the matches. You know what I mean? Maybe he'll win 7 or 8 out of 10 matches. So I think that's one thing that is starting to be more popular within jiu-jitsu, strength training, because with the rigors of the sport and the way the body moves, the best way to prevent injury or to be more resilient, especially since the sport is demanding, is by strength training.
Yeah.
Because now your body is stronger. It can handle the rigors of the sport, but a lot of guys get injured just because they don't strength train often. So
yeah.
Yeah.
And you've done a little bit of everything. You've done bodybuilding, you've done natural bodybuilding shows, and you've done powerlifting, you've done jiu-jitsu, you've done everything. You used to, as far as I know, be kind of a calorie tracking guy, right, when you were doing bodybuilding.
Yeah.
And why did you make that transition over to sort of more of, I guess you're doing something probably along the lines like meat and fruit and rice, something pretty simple like that? Or
yeah,
tell us about your nutrition and how you fuel yourself.
Pretty much. So I used to track a lot, and I never thought that I'd get to a point. First thing is, I never thought that I'd get to a point where I can maintain a level of leanness without tracking my calories, primarily because I'm an individual that can and does eat a lot of food, especially when I'm eating throughout the whole day. So I was, there were a few times where I did intuitive eating, but I would always end up eating too much. Just because that wasn't, I couldn't do that and stay lean. It was when I picked up the habit of adding in some fasting into my habits back in 2017. So I started toying with that. But what fasting did is, over time, I think, because of the way I am now, it's like I can still eat a lot of food when I eat, but at the times that I don't eat, I don't feel the need to eat. So I can go a whole day and feel fine. And I can work out, I can podcast, I can do whatever I need to do, go a whole day and not eat, and then go home and eat a bunch of food. And after I implemented that habit and got it to stick over the years, as I started continuing to lose body fat, I didn't feel the need to continue to eat more. So now my habits when it comes to eating is I don't track anything. I make sure to eat adequate protein each day. I make sure, and I can feel when my performance is dipping. So on days that I know, like, ooh, you're feeling a little frail, increase your carb intake for that day. So add some fruit, add some rice. Always protein stays high. And on days where I'm like, okay, for the past few days, it kind of goes like this. For the past few days, you've eaten a lot of food. Today, just fast, a bit extra, and just eat a big meal at the end of the day with minimal carbohydrates. And it kind of cycles like that. Like, I'll have a few days where I have very high protein, minimal to maybe barely any carbs. Then I'll feel, okay, today I need more, so I'll eat more food. And some days I won't fast at all. Some days I'll eat throughout the day. That's usually once or twice in the week, and I can feel that. And then when I'm like, ooh, I can wake up in the morning and be like, oh, you're good today. I'll just fast again until the end of the day. And I've been able to maintain a lean body composition primarily because I now have control over my hunger. Before, when I would get hungry, I had to respond and eat food. But because of the habit of fasting, and literally because you choose not to eat for a period of the day, you are training yourself not to respond to ghrelin. So over the continuous repetition of ghrelin, you're hungry, you don't respond, you're hungry, you don't respond, you're hungry, you don't respond. Now I don't have to respond to hunger, which is why I'm able to maintain a lean physique, have control over my hunger, and do it intuitively.
Yeah, it's interesting because you and Mark I remember Mark did a bodybuilding show, like 4 or 5 years ago now?
Yeah.
And he's like still in that same kind of shape. Obviously, he was a little bit bigger and dicier for the bodybuilding show, but not that much. Mm-hmm. And you maintain a crazy physique.
Yeah.
Every time you're in the gym, I'm like, I feel like going home and just quitting. But we see you in the gym, and then I'll tell people, go, okay, wait till he starts lifting. Because like we'll be monitoring you from the side, and then you'll do like one set of seated rows and like all the veins pop out and like whatever. Because people say, well, he's not like as vascular as Mark or something. I go, wait till he starts lifting, everything comes out, it gets crazy.
Yeah.
And just so like honestly, like this is a place where I trained at Gold's Gym Venice for 25 years, and this place is just as inspirational as that place. But there's only 3 or 4 people here to inspire me. It's you. Well, it's you, it's Mark. It's actually seeing the crazy transformation of Andrew into like a real man. He used to be very frail. I love Andrew. He's amazing. But we used to, Mark and I was like, is he ever gonna kick in? And now I feel like he's part of the crew, like just as much as you guys. And I think that that's really awesome to see that. I think it's really awesome to see a guy like Kenny come in here and work in the warehouse and secretly be working on this fantastic physique that he just won an overall bodybuilding show. And so it's like the people that inspire me here are just even some of the guys. We have guys here like our producer Russell, who started out at over 500 pounds and he's lost like 70 pounds. And
kept it
to me, like that's what we should be proud of.
Yeah.
And when people walk in here and they go, well, what happened to all the big powerlifting numbers on the wall and blah blah, I'm like, those people come and go all the time. I've seen millions of those people come into powerlifting, dominate for a year, then they're gone and you never hear from them.
Yeah.
But I like really spending my time and energy focusing on real people that are going to be here for. That's kind of like the crew that we have here, which is really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think one thing that's really been like super, super inspiring to me has been obviously like seeing Russ and seeing how he's been super fucking consistent. It's fucking awesome because like you can see it in the way he is all the time now too, outside of the gym and working out. But Kenny, dog, that dude, I'm so pumped to see what he's gonna do next, because his potential is like here, and he's choosing to go the bodybuilding route, which is sick because he's gonna kill.
Well, he'd be a great powerlifter also. He's strong.
He would be a great powerlifter too, but like, man, if he goes classic bodybuilding, he's got the face, he's got the body, he's got everything needed to be honestly a guy like Bumstead.
I honestly believe that too, and I had a premonition on a mushroom trip that I had this premonition, and it's gonna sound so weird, that Kenny is like Luke Skywalker. And he's like the Jedi that's coming in to like take over for Mark. Like he's like the next generation in this story or something. Like I don't know why I had that vision of him, but he's just such a nice, salt of the earth type kid. He's like always giving me shit. Like he'll be like, "Hey, I got this at my supplement store," and he like just gives me stuff all the time. Just like the nicest kid.
Yeah.
And he's jacked. So I was like, I had this weird premonition about him.
Yeah.
That I don't know if it'll come true, but I do believe that he's got some serious potential to.
No, it will. Kenny will, because he's focused. He has people around him that all want him to do well. He's at a prime place that honestly, whatever he wants to do, he's going to be able to do as long as he stays consistent with it. Everyone wants him to win, and everyone can see him can fucking see it. So it's like, motherfucker, just take it.
Yeah, he walked
just
in the gym.
Take it.
He just walked in the gym yesterday, and everybody stopped and clapped for him. I thought that was really cool. Like everybody knew that he went in this competition. Everybody knew that he won, and none of them are bodybuilders. They're just, hey, that's our boy. Like, good job. And people know how hard it is.
Yeah.
And I think that that's awesome. And, speaking of that potential to do anything, I feel the same thing about yourself. Where do you want to go? Like, do you have even an ultimate goal of like what you want to do?
Well, the reason why I started jujitsu was because even though bodybuilding was fun, athletically it didn't. I played soccer for 16 years. I moved my body. I ran around a field. And when I had surgery in college, which took me out of soccer, that's why I got into bodybuilding, because I had nothing else I was able to do athletically. So I got into bodybuilding. It was really cool. There's a lot of potential I had with that, but it wasn't fun. I didn't move my body in the way I wanted to move my body. It was the same movements all the time. Competitions were the only factor in terms of skill was my ability to get bigger. And for me personally, that didn't stimulate me enough. Powerlifting, it was also fun. But again, the only thing that was my metric of improvement was getting stronger at 3 different movements. And although it is fun for a time for me, it was fun for a time, I wasn't stimulated by it the way I was by soccer. With soccer, there were so many different things in terms of ball skill, endurance, all these different things, the team aspect of it that I had to improve at, and I just didn't get that type of stimulation, even though I enjoy lifting, and lifting is something I've done for a long time and I will do until the day that I die. The competition aspect of bodybuilding and powerlifting didn't do it for me. When I went to my first day of jiu-jitsu, and it was my ex-girlfriend that was like, because I was talking to her about it, and I was like, I don't know what the fuck I'm gonna do. Like, I want to do something else that'll give me a lot to improve at, but I just can't figure that out. And then she was like, maybe you should check out jujitsu. That wasn't anything that hit my mind. I didn't even know what the fuck jujitsu was. So then when I saw the first class, and then I was like, wait, jujitsu is grappling. It's stuff they do in the UFC. And I saw the first class. I was like, fuck, I need to try it. When I went in my first day and I got my ass kicked, I was 265 at the time, but guys that were 150, 160 were demolishing me, like without energy. I knew that this is the thing that I can do along with everything else, but this is the thing that I know that I can get really fucking good at. I can compete at a high level at, given enough time, and I can do until the day that I die along with everything else. It's like it's the thing that gave me the mental and physical stimulation that soccer gave me, that bodybuilding and powerlifting just could not meet up to. Mm-hmm. So for me, jiu-jitsu is my athletic focus. I want to, in the gi, I want to be able to win the biggest tournaments in the gi at brown and at black belt. And after that, I want to continue competing for a long time. One of the cool things that we're continuing to learn on the podcast is that there are certain things that you can maintain in your health regimen that can allow you to be highly athletic into your late 30s and 40s and 50s. Yeah. We've seen guys like that. So we know the habits we need to maintain. And I know that I can continue competing at a high level into my late 30s and into my 40s. I don't have to compete at masters divisions because I know how to take care of myself. So that's what athletically, that's what I want to do. I want to be able to compete at the highest levels in jiu-jitsu.
You said something a couple weeks ago that actually helped me a lot. And I don't even think you know it because you just said it in passing. You're like, I don't need to lift heavy weights to look like this anymore. And I was like, you know what? He's right. He never is like doing anything really crazy heavy.
Yeah.
You're in no danger of getting hurt. You're doing all these like functional patterns, types, movements, and different things, right?
Like, I look like that crazy guy in the gym at this point, dog.
Yeah, but when you said like I don't need to do this to be to like be this big, like it just kind of hit me like a ton of bricks, going like, yeah, why am I in here trying to like move all these heavy weights all the time? Like that's not really what I need to do. I need to move my body comfortably, not move it under a ton of pain. And and I think like little things like that just help me go, oh yeah, like Mark's not really doing anything crazy heavy either, and neither's Nsima. And why am I pinned under this bar in pain when I don't need to be? Maybe there's things I can do that'll get me out of pain.
Yeah,
it was just a really interesting like statement in passing that I think that you have that effect on people if you don't even know it. Like sometimes.
Yeah, no, I didn't realize that, but one thing I do know is like even. For example, I powerlifting was really cool to do, to see like how much weight can I move with these movements. But as far as gaining muscle, I didn't need to do that to gain the amount of muscle that I have now. I could have done it with a lot lower weight and higher volume. So even now, though, one thing that I've seen is with a lot of natural bodybuilders I know who have continued to do it into their later years, they don't need nearly as much training volume to maintain the muscle that they put on. The cool thing about muscle is when you put it on, it's pretty hard to lose unless you stop stimulating it totally. You can maintain that muscle with really minimum volumes as long as it stays stimulated.
Yeah.
It's when you totally stop stimulating, when you don't do anything, that you'll start to waste away. But because of those satellite cells, you can gain that muscle back pretty quickly.
I also think it's like a natty thing. Like Mark and I stayed natural into like our late 20s. And a lot of people, they just hop on stuff and they go from like 135 to like 200 pounds, right? And then they get off and everything shrinks and goes away. But I feel like when you build that naturally, that it sticks around a lot longer. At least that's my theory, you know?
You know, the bro science theory that I have for it is like, if your body's able to put it on and hold it, then your body knows, okay, this is what I'm used to. You know what I mean? I've sent signals to my body like, this is what you're used to I've been around this same weight for shit. I mean, back in 2015, after prep, I got up to like 265, 270 for my powerlifting meet. And then when I started jujitsu, I slowly crept myself down to like 250 now. So I've been this same weight for about 6 years, but I've also been this weight before too, in 2014. So I've been around the same weight for almost 8 years now. You know what I mean? And it's like, I haven't, with the fasting, with the running, with the jujitsu, I haven't lost muscle. I've lost a little bit of muscle in my legs just because I'm not doing all the things I used to do. But I could gain that muscle back very quickly if I chose to. Yeah. So it's like, this body is the body that I'm used to. It's like nothing, unless I stopped eating and I stopped exercising and I just stopped moving, there's really nothing that would make me downsize.
And to be honest, you're very symmetrical. So if you did add more weight to your legs, you might look like a bodybuilder, which is not like, it's a weird physique to be walking around with all the time. You know, like it's tough.
This is gonna sound fucked up, but I'm so happy my legs actually got smaller, because one of the things I used to hate was like, jeans still don't fit normally on me, but I used to look real clownish. Yeah. It wasn't fun. And it wasn't fun that the thighs still rub together, but they used to really rub together. Yeah. So I like
it looks
that
like it hurts for some bodybuilders. You know, my friend Brad Rowe, he's got the
huge
legs. And I'd always be like, that just looks like it kills. I mean, he's downsized now a lot. He's sort of gone a different direction, which I think he looks amazing now. But when he was real big, his legs were just like constantly rubbing together, and it's got to be annoying.
One of my cousins said this one thing to me. She's like, Nsima, it was when I was younger. I was a bit heavier. She's like, you look so uncomfortable. And I was like,
I do?
I do? Like, I mean, I guess I kind of am. But yeah. No, it has to be uncomfortable to be that big.
Yeah. You know, we talk a lot about eating organs and eating meat and whatever. And it's funny because you're like, ever since we've been talking about it, you've been like, oh yeah, I love that shit. Like, I've eaten that my whole life. And like, what? It seems like you have a good relationship with your mom, and it seems like she impressed a lot upon you. Can you tell us about your mom and your relationship with her and how she's molded a lot of what you do today?
Oh yeah, it's everything. She was a single parent, but she was a very good single parent. The first thing is that she wasn't a single parent that would shit talk the other one. I still know my dad. We still talk on like WhatsApp. He's in Nigeria right now, but she was very nice about that. Right. So I do have a decent relationship with my dad, but she did a really, really good job at keeping me busy as a kid. I think that my physical habits nowadays are absolutely because of her, because I was a really just energetic kid.
Did you grow up here in Sacramento?
Yeah, Sacramento. Yeah, okay. Yeah. I was a super energetic kid, and that's why she put me in soccer when I was 6. She also made me play instruments when I was super young too. She kept me busy as fuck. But she put me in soccer when I was 6, so she put me in those team environments. But I played soccer from 6 to 13. When I was 13, I got Osgood-Schlatter. When you're growing too fast, my knees, let's just say the shit in my knees couldn't catch up to how fast I was growing.
I always thought that was a made-up word that a doctor told me. Now I know it's real.
Yeah. I had, and I still have 2 bumps in both of my knees, but I had so much pain that I wasn't able to run. So that's why I had to stop playing soccer for 3 years. And that's why I got into lifting. But that's also the first time in my life that I actually had depression because I wasn't running. I couldn't be physical. And my mom's like, she saw that I wasn't talking to people. I was just coming home from school and going straight to my room. I would eat, go to sleep, go to school, come home, eat, go to sleep. So she's like, we have a gym. Just go fucking go to the gym. She never cursed, but she was just like, go to the gym, go do something. So there was a gym like a mile from our house. I just walked the track, went to the gym, started training, fell in love with it. And I was back to being that kid again. I was back to being good because I got to go to the gym every single day, sweat and train. And it was great. And it was because of her that I got into all those physical things. And that's why now you said that I seem calm, which I'm happy. I'm happy that I seem like a calm guy because generally things don't really get me too high or too low, but it's because I have a physical outlet.
Yeah.
If I didn't have a physical outlet, it's not that I would be an angry guy, but I would more so just be a depressed wreck. And I know that about myself. And I haven't had any type of depression since that point in my life because I have the tools that she, without even realizing it, she helped me find those physical tools to have that type of outlet. I forgot about this, but when I was in college and I had that foot surgery, I was in a cast for 8 months. At that point, too, I did have lifting, so it wasn't as bad. But for a short period of time, because soccer was taken away from me, I wanted to play professionally. But since it was taken away, that's when I kind of fell into a little stint again. But I was like, just go fucking lift.
Yeah.
Like you can do some upper body shit. And I did upper body shit for months until I was able to work on my legs again.
It's interesting how that hits you, right? Like you said, it got taken away from me.
Yeah.
And I always say that about, powerlifting. I'm like, I was doing great. And then all of a sudden the doctor's like, you need two new hips, and 2 new knees, which I never got the knees replaced. And I'm wondering, and I still need to go get an MRI. Like I want to get an MRI and see like what happened in my knees because I don't think I need knee surgery anymore at all.
They like to cut you.
Yeah, but what's interesting is like, well, they say that cartilage doesn't grow back. Well, I haven't had cartilage in my knees for 13 years plus. So what's going on there? I think that just like I think medicine can do great things and help you, I also think that, like you just said, they like to cut you. Mm-hmm. And even with my hips, I still wonder. Like Dr. Sean Baker said something to me that hit me really deep. And he said, we were in Hawaii and we're just walking. And I'm like, yeah, I got all this pain and blah, blah. And he goes, and he was really sad about it. He goes, it's just a shame that they just cut you open, man. I wish I got to know you before that. I wish we could have talked. Yeah. I wish I could have at least tried to see if we could have got you out of this. Because once they cut, they cut. It's done. Mm-hmm. And it kind of like hit me. And I'm like, man, like, this diet is really powerful and I do feel a lot better on it. I wonder what would have happened thinking about my, my knees and everything. So it's like, when you feel like you've gotten soccer or powerlifting or something taken away from you, like the amount of depression that comes from that is huge. And I think a lot of people don't understand that.
Yeah. It's also like, I don't know if this was like that for you, but for me, at the point that I had that surgery, soccer was my identity. I was on the college soccer team. I was progressing really well. I was going to be a pro soccer player.
Put it this way, every single shirt I had was from a different gym. Mm-hmm. There was a period of time when I was like really into powerlifting and every shirt was either Powerhouse Gym, Gold's Gym, World Gym. Mm-hmm. I just collected gym shirts and I'd wear them every day. Yeah. And so like, yeah, it hurts when it gets taken away from you.
Absolutely. And that's the thing. It's like, that is, there's a benefit, but then there's also a danger in terms of entrapping your physical identity into something that you do. Even at this point, it's like, I love jujitsu. I love lifting. I love all these things, but God forbid something happens and I can't ever do that anymore. I'm happy that like there are still other things that I do enjoy mentally. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like I'm very fortunate that I Mark, Andrew, and myself can do this podcast because I'm forced to continue to learn. Yeah. And I don't get me wrong, I love learning, but if we were just doing the same shit all the time and bringing the same shit to people all the time, that would get real stale. So I'm very fortunate that like I also get to stimulate myself mentally in this other thing because if something does happen, I still have something that I can be of benefit to others for. Yeah. So I'm very happy about that.
That's the great thing about the format of your podcast. You guys have set it up so that you can have all sorts of different things on there, and people aren't going to find it too weird. However, in the beginning, in the beginning of doing that, it was a challenge because a lot of people, and I'm sure you still get it.
Oh, yeah.
People, I thought this was a powerlifting channel or something, right? And it's like you're talking about sex toys or something crazy, right? So, but I feel like I don't know, like I just go to Mark with so many different people from all walks of life and say like, hey, this guy might be interesting for you guys, or this guy might, and they're like, they're from all over the place. They're not from just like powerlifting, because that gets boring. You know, there's only so much you can talk about, and then what can you apply from these nutrition guys and from these different mobility guys towards your powerlifting, if that's still the goal for people, right? So it's like, I think you guys do a great job of like putting it all together and giving people just really good, useful bits of information. And another thing I think a lot of people don't realize is like everything you guys advertise is like a lot of thought goes into it. It's not just companies that pop up. It's not like, hey, Simply Safe, why don't you, secure your place or what? It's like
Simply Safe, hit us up. I'm joking. I'm joking.
Not like that's bad, but we know for a fact that the people doing these ads aren't really super into that.
Could you leave, dude?
Hey, come on.
This is just one thing that's not about you. No, I'm joking. No, don't.
Wait.
You know, they're literally talking about you right now. So that was no truth to what he just.
Why you gotta do that to me, dog?
Okay.
Fuck you.
Mark just popped in and said, ask him about the sous vide sushi, which I don't know any reason to sous vide sushi.
About the banana.
Banana in my underwear.
Football?
Well, yeah. So it wasn't underwear. It was spandex. and we were at a football camp that was half cheerleaders and half football players. So I went up to the thing and I took the banana and I put it in my spandex, and I would just go up and talk to the girls and see if they noticed.
Oh my God, dude.
And so it was a very nowadays I think I'd probably go to jail for that. Yeah. I'd be in trouble. But at the time, it was really funny because we're wearing our little spandex shorts and got the banana in there, and you'd go up and you talk to a girl and put your leg up on the. Anyway, what about this sushi?
The funny thing though, when I first came to Super Training, I was wearing spandex leggings, and Juan grilled me for Juan and Marcus. Juan grilled me for that because he's like, "You're gay," and then Marcus, Marcus was like, "You're not allowed to wear that here, Jim." I'm like, but he's like, "No, you're not allowed to wear it." I just thought it was hilarious.
I got really embarrassed because a guy came in and he was wearing tights and he was in really good shape. And he got through the whole workout and I didn't say anything about the tights. And then Marcus goes up and he's like, hey, you're not allowed to wear that shit. And the guy's like, I'm not. And he's like, why not? And Marcus simply just said, because it's fucking gay. And I'm going, oh my God, I can't believe you just said that to that guy. And the guy's like, okay, I won't wear them next time. No big deal. The guy didn't even get mad about it.
Yeah.
But I was thinking oh shit, here we go.
Hey, 2015-16 was a different time.
Yeah, we might even have to cut that out of this podcast nowadays, right?
Nah, I could keep that shit in. But the sous vide sushi. So I made a mistake one day. There's this place called Sunfish. You remember when we had that 100?
Sunfish.
Yeah, remember that 105-degree weather?
Yeah.
So I didn't realize how long the fish was in my car. I thought I made a quick stop somewhere and then I went home, but I had some ice in the bag with the raw fish. So I was like, okay, it should be fine. I was cutting it up, bagging it, freezing it. But each time I'd eat a bag of it, internally, I was like, something's odd. This doesn't feel right. It's like, but I was just like, maybe, but I ate a few bags of it.
Like it tasted pretty good, but it was a little off?
It was definitely off, but I was like, it's probably fine. It wasn't fine. It was fucked. It was bad at that point. And I just continued eating bad fish for a little bit. And you know how bad that could go. Luckily, I have African guts, so I can handle that shit. But I could have really.
So you had it in, it just got too hot.
Yeah, it got too hot in the car, so it literally went bad because I ate it raw. I didn't cook it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But then you froze it and then rethawed it.
Because I bought a lot of it and I finished it. But I finished a lot of bad fish.
Wow.
It's not the best thing
and
to do.
It's
not a good risk to take.
Too, right? So like if you
it was like $150.
Yeah, just throwing it out is kind of like really sad.
Ate it all. I shouldn't have. I
you
definitely
felt
should have.
obligated to
I
eat
felt
that.
obligated. And I
What's-
was
It
taking a
would've been
risk with my
wasteful.
health.
Would have been wasteful to not eat.
What's the diet look like on a normal day? Just give me a typical day. Like, do you eat breakfast? Do you skip breakfast? Do you intermittent fast? What's the deal?
Like a day like today, I didn't eat this morning. I'm having a Monster. I had some creatine. Today's not a day I'm gonna eat after. So I'm gonna eat this evening. I'm gonna have some rice, some steak as defrosting in the fridge. I don't have any fish defrosting, but I'm probably gonna defrost some fish. So I'm gonna have some rice, steak, and fish, maybe an apple. I'm gonna have a lot of protein, so it'll be enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's the thing. Like I think the really cool thing that's happened over the years is that since I don't track, because I tracked for such a long time, I can eyeball stuff and be like, that is enough protein. I know what 200 grams, 250 grams of protein looks and feels like. So tracking gave me the education to now not track anything, but also because I haven't been tracking anything and I've been so active, I can feel like I know what a day feels like when I wake up and I'm like, this is a day that I need more food. I know what that feels like since I've been through that. So intuitively, I know the days I need to eat more. I know the days I need to eat less based off of how I feel, just because I've been doing it for.
And I do tell people, like, some days I'll come in here and it's 10 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, I got to go to In-N-Out and get some patties.
Yeah.
At like 10 o'clock in the morning, like right when they open, I'll get like customer number 1 sometimes. And the interesting thing about that, though, is other days I'll come in here and I'll fast until 7 p.m. when I go home.
Yeah.
Like I don't eat all day. So it just ebbs and flows with life. Like, and it's nothing, not based on any sort of workout day. It's just like some days I feel hungry and I eat. And when I don't feel hungry, I don't eat. I take it as a win.
Yeah.
When I'm not hungry. Yeah. And I also look at it as a win when I am hungry because I get to eat more, you know? So we're never eating anything bad. That's the key, I think, is, you know, I haven't polluted myself with any toxic stuff lately. And my birthday's tomorrow too, so we'll see if we can make it all the way through.
Hey, how old are you gonna turn?
50.
Dude, good for you.
I might eat a whole ice cream cake tomorrow. Never know.
You should. Let me tell you something stupid that I did recently, because I haven't had juice.
Here we go.
And literally, I don't know if I told you guys about.
He's on the juice.
No, like literal juice, like simply lemonade, simply watermelon juice. I haven't drank juice in a long time. One of the things we talk about is just don't drink your calories unless it's like a protein shake or whatever. But 2 weeks ago, I was like, God, I stopped drinking diet soda because I went a little bit too far. I'm going to bring that back because I ended up going a little bit too far. I want to talk to you about that after this. Yeah, I went a little bit too far with diet soda for a bit. So I was like, well, maybe I can just have a little bit of juice.
What does that mean to you? What is too far?
It's like having a liter a day.
Liter a day.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's
of
like
diet
7
soda.
cans, 8 cans.
Yeah.
Okay.
I took it too far, and this next time when I bring it back, I won't take it that far. Shit was
3 or 4.
Yeah, it was making me have some bubble guts. But I was like, okay, let me just fuck around and see if I can handle drinking juice without having excess. I don't keep things in the house that I would end up overeating. That's one thing.
A good idea,
yeah. Me, I can still eat a lot. So I bought a Simply Lemonade thing, and first day I had a glass. I was like, good. Second day, I had like 3 glasses. Then I DoorDashed like 4 more bottles. And then it got to a point that there's one night that I just drank a whole thing of it. Now, my average weight is like 245 to 250. Within like 5 days, I was up to 250. And I was just like, I haven't been 258 in years. Let's stop drinking juice.
That's pretty crazy.
But the reason why I say this is like, it wasn't because of the juice. It was just because I didn't have the maturity level to drink a glass of juice and stop like an adult. Yeah. For me, it's like sugar still has the same effect. So it's like you want more.
I do the same thing to Stan Efferding. I blame him for my orange juice consumption. Like I was telling Stan one day, I'm like, but I can't just drink 4 ounces of orange juice. And he goes, that's not my problem. And I'm like, I know it's not your problem, but it's my problem when I do your diet. Yeah. So it's your problem now.
Yeah. But
I can't do that. I can't just drink the 4 ounces and be done for the day.
But that's the thing. I think this is the really cool thing about it. It's a cool thing to understand about yourself because we know if we just had 1 glass, we'd be healthy. It wouldn't be a fucking problem. But we're not. I'm gonna say this for myself. I'm not supposed to speak for you. For some reason, the sugar in that juice just has such an effect on my actions that my ass can't just be like, I'm an adult and be like, 1 glass is fine. It's gonna turn into drinking the whole fucking thing, which is the whole reason why I don't drink juice. I just had to teach that to myself again. But I think it's really funny that we've been doing this shit for so long, but then something like juice
you
can
could
derail
put
us.
4 oranges in front of me, and I probably won't eat them or touch them. I won't care.
Right.
But you put a nice cold glass of like orange juice with some pulp in there, that's fresh squeezed. I will down that so quick. And I would down it without even thinking of it. But those oranges, that would take me all day to eat. I would be like, oh, I don't feel like peeling these. And there's a lot of things I think a lot of people don't realize. It's like, how much work do you put into your food? And if you don't put any work into your food, you're going to eat a lot. That's why nuts are a bad idea, especially nuts that come, like you can buy the pistachios out of the shell. One of the least lazy things you can do is break those shells. But then when you get them without the shells, you can eat handfuls. You get those on a plane and you'll buy the big bag and the whole bag is like 1,500 calories and you'll have demolished it by the time you get off the plane.
Cashews are even more dangerous.
It's not a good idea.
Cashews used to be my guilt.
Cashew.
Let's go back to diet soda really quick.
Oh, yeah.
You're drinking a Monster. It doesn't seem like you're too worried about like, artificial sweeteners or things like that. How do you account for that stuff in your diet, or you just use it?
Well, for Monsters, I don't drink too many of them just because of caffeine. Like, I really guard my sleep a lot, so I don't drink more.
So I was going to ask you about the diet soda. Is it caffeine-free diet soda?
Oh, yeah. I'll make sure to drink caffeine soda. But when I reintroduce that, I'm just gonna not go too far with it.
It's hard to find. If you buy the cans.
Yeah.
It's like there's one store in Davis that sells caffeine-free Coke Zero, and I even texted Russell one time
I
like,
saw that in the fridge. I'm like, this exists?
It's amazing. What? Yeah, it's amazing. It's like the best drink on the planet. Caffeine-free Coke Zero. I'll bring some more in when I find it at the my secret store that I can't even mention because people will go there and they'll buy it all. Every time I mention, it tastes the same exact. Every time I mention something like that, it seems like I go to the store the next time and it's not there.
Yeah.
I mentioned this thing about sticky rice.
The Bibigo?
No, do you know it's called Tasty Bite sticky rice. And it's the only rice that comes in like a packet, like in one of those packages that you microwave, but it's the only one that's just rice and water. All the other ones have like canola oil and sunflower oil.
Does the Bibigo stuff, do you know what I'm talking about? The Bibigo white rice from Costco, the sticky rice that you can warm up for 90 seconds.
It's very similar to that. Is that just water and rice?
I thought it was, but I might be totally wrong now that you mentioned that.
You should look, because I found this one and then I told people about it. Next thing you know, I go and it's all gone. But good thing I don't eat rice anymore, so now I can say it. But yeah, I actually cut everything out. I cut I went back to carnivore.
Yeah.
Went back to like strict carnivoring. And interestingly, my knee pain that has been bothering me forever, like completely went away, but it hasn't gone away in the past on carnivore. So I don't know if I'm like stricter now, if it's just because I've been doing a lot of corrective exercises along with eating good. It's really hard to tell,
Dude, I think it's like a lot of the things you're doing now are probably different as far as the exercises that you've been learning, all the things that you've been doing. You've probably been doing things that have been improving your knee, but now because you don't have foods that are giving you any level of inflammation since you're just eating meat, you're able to recognize that that pain is now gone. So it's probably an additive. That's the cool thing about all this shit, like all the stuff that we all continue to learn, it all layers upon each other, but it takes time of you implementing it to see the effects later on. It's like these things don't happen immediately. Like Mark's discovering it all the time on all his different runs in terms of different access he has to different parts of his body. And I notice it all the time too, as I'm doing different things. Like a few weeks later, I'm like, wow, I was never able to bend this way.
Yeah.
Or this is, what the fuck? It's so cool how little things, little habits can make a big difference, but it has to be done over time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
What was I going to ask you next?
Can I just say something?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
It's interesting to me that you're saying that because a man of my size losing weight, I'm getting a lot of access I didn't have, right?
Yeah.
To hear that athletic men like yourselves are Mark. I know Mark's a little bit of a outlier because he had to make his body so rigid just to handle all back.
Yeah.
But even hearing you say, I'm opening up my range of motion, it's wild. I had a flat tire. I didn't feel like I had to hold my breath to bend over to up the air. 3 years ago, this was like I was being strangled.
Yeah.
So to actually, experience that and to hear that that these are some universal are accessible at all levels of fitness.
Yes.
His name's Greg Thompson. We can look him up and pull up a picture too. But Greg Thompson was 220 pounds, super jacked, super ripped, 22 years old, and he would go into golds with me, and people would be like, "Is he related to Cena? Is that like Cena's brother?" Everybody thought it was
Yeah.
John Cena's brother.
Yeah.
This kid was that jacked.
Uh-huh.
And then it was the same like with you. If I brought up like a steroid or something, he'd
Yeah.
be like Winstrol, what's that? Like I don't know what that is. And he was dead serious. Like he just didn't know. And I think there are people out there that are these anomalies and these freaks, and that's where you find them. He was a high school wrestler and like state champion high school wrestler, right? And we see these people all the time, but nobody wants to believe it. John Cena has 52 drug tests stapled to the wall of his gym, but nobody wants to believe it. Everybody's like, well, he's on shit. Be like, well, at least from this period to this period, this is like a 7-year stretch. He wasn't on anything because he got tested like 3 times a year, and all of them are clean, unless he was intermittently taking some juice in between
Which is
each
what
test.
people will say, yeah.
I mean, it's too complicated.
It's too complicated, and there's so many factors that I think aren't really thought about in especially. Oh, is this the guy?
Oh, yeah, just right. He does look like Cena. See, Cena came up. I don't see him in there.
Kenny kind of looks like Cena.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, got that bone structure and shit.
Just look up Greg Thompson, and then maybe put let's see, it's for shits. Put physique or something. If he's not famous, that's the problem, right? That's like what I'm saying is these guys. Psychic.
PHYSIQUE.
Yeah, it seems better than that. Oh, there he is. Gorgeous Greg. Yep, click on him.
Oh,
Click on him.
See.
So that kid's yoked.
He does look like
Okay,
Cena.
so look at his biceps. That's that kid's natty, and he was my roommate for years. And
nowadays, that's 100%. People be like that.
no, this kid was totally natty. He had no idea when you would bring up steroids. He'd have no idea. I lived with him. I saw everything. Okay, so before I ever did carnivore or any of these crazy diets, I thought this kid was nuts.
Yeah.
Because we would go to the store, and I was eating like shit at the time. I'd buy like ice cream, potato chips. I'd be sitting on the couch eating. He's like, "Why you eat that shit?" You know? And he'd pull up with a fucking bag of spinach, and he would literally sit on the couch and eat spinach out of the bag.
So he's the real life Popeye, huh?
And I'm like, this kid is nuts.
Yeah.
Like he was nuts. And that was like, he liked it. Like girls would come over to the house and they'd be like, yeah, your roommate's like really weird. What is he? They all liked him because he was jacked and shredded.
Yeah.
So they're all like, he's really cute and blah, blah. And like, they all like wanted to hook up with him. Then they go, but he's really weird. He just sits there and like eats spinach and broccoli out of a bag. So
I think it's so, the fitness side of things is so weird because we can acknowledge that men that are 6'9" and can jump 50 inches exist and aren't taking drugs to do that. But certain people can get really big, really just a large amount of muscle. And that all of those guys need to take something for that. Some do, some don't. Like genetics are so wide and varied. Like we have fucking Kenyans that their tribe of people are just able to run forever. We have some of the tallest people that come from certain parts of Africa. We got people that are descendants of Vikings, and for some reason their wrists and their hands are huge and massive.
yeah.
But certain people just can't gain a certain amount of muscle without having to take TRT. Motherfucker, get the fuck out of here. Like, seriously?
It's interesting because I'm a huge proponent of like TRT and using these things. However, I kind of wish they were never invented. It would make things so much easier. It would make like all this fitness stuff so much easier to figure out, comprehend, whatever. So I guess we pretend like they don't really exist. Like we pretend like it's not really a factor because when you pretend it's a factor, it just messes up your vision of this whole system, basically. Like,
when I was younger, because of the time that I started lifting, when I started hearing about steroids, my initial knee-jerk thing was like, oh, that's cheating. That's a shortcut. Also, I did compete in Natural Federation, so that literally would have been cheating.
It would have been cheating.
Literally. But even so, for me, it wasn't something that I looked at positively. I didn't look at it positively. But over time, things like, I don't have any moral judgments on TRT or any types of steroids. The only thing I care about is the safety of younger guys who choose to go that route.
Absolutely.
And what is their reasoning? It's like, are you doing this just so you can get bigger a little bit faster? Like a guy like Kenny, he's using some TRT, but he has goals of competing in the NPC and competing against guys who are using a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And it's not just a hobby for him.
And when you talk about people that are like freaks and they have potential, Kenny's funny because if you ask Kenny about like, well, what are you on right now? He'll be like, well, I was on like test, but then like I ran out and then I got like, he's not very organized with it.
Kenny
even.
got to 240 before he ever touched anything.
That's what I'm saying. He doesn't need it, but he is using it because he is in the sport where they definitely use it, right? So like,
yeah,
he doesn't necessarily even need it, which is crazy.
But like, that's the thing. It's like, I don't think anything negatively about TRT because it can be something that can be used to help people get healthier, especially people who nowadays are in pretty rough situations. Like, we've been getting comments of people who are like, oh, my brother had massive amounts of depression. He's been on medication. Using some TRT helped him boost him and get him out of that rut. So I can see so many instances where this can be healthy and valuable. But then within this realm of fitness, people just take things too far where it ends up being dangerous.
Yeah.
And as adults, we are all able to do whatever the fuck we want to do. You can make whatever choice you want to make. But at the end of the day, like when I was younger, let me just rewind. When I was younger, I wanted to be a doctor. My goal was to go to college, doctor. That was it. Because health is something that I love. So at the end of the day, with everything that I have done and everything that I've put forward over the years, it's like, my thing is, I want to be the healthiest possible, but I also want people to be the healthiest. So when I see a lot of young guys getting on TRT because of TikTok and shit that they've seen, I just think like, fuck, like that really sucks because if you just learn to get sleep, have good nutrition, work out for a few years, like if you learn to just love this and have this be a part of your lifestyle, that might be something you do way in the future, but it wouldn't need to be a card that you play right now. If you're in your 30s or 40s and you choose to go on it just because you want higher tests, fuck, do you, man. You're an adult. Yeah. But I just want people to be the healthiest version of themselves. And if that means using TRT,
we've seen a lot of bodybuilders die way too young, like under the age of 50. Yeah. I think there's been like 35 in the past 2 years, maybe more than that, in the bodybuilding world. Yeah. And I look at it and people go, oh, well, it's not the drugs. It's like there's a million different excuses being made. But the one thing I don't think anybody talks about is like most of these people are not eating a good sound diet year round. A lot of bodybuilders that I know, they eat a lot of shitty foods in the off season. I know that a lot of people a lot of these bodybuilders, as they got older and got out of competition, they didn't eat good at all. They got in sloppy shape. And I see this time and time again, and like nobody talks about the food, and a lot of these guys, like for example, we're friends with Tony Huge. Go to his house and look in his cabinets and all you'll see is junk food. I don't see any healthy food there. When I go with him to sushi, I see him eating all the sushi with the mayo on it and things like that. And I'm going like, this isn't healthy, man. Like, I don't care how many drugs you're taking to maintain that physique. This is not healthy. This is not going to end well. Mm-hmm. And I say that about a lot of these people because I think that everything plays a factor. The drugs play a factor. What you eat plays a factor. The fact of like, are you doing any, cardio outside of, the cardio you're doing for a show? That's huge. Are you walking? Are you getting sunlight every day? And I just think that if you took the 9 ancestral tenets of the Liver King and tried to apply them to bodybuilders, they would basically get move and eat out of the way, But then, like, are they always eating good? Like, a lot of them don't necessarily eat what we think is good. Like, I don't think that eating these like high protein candy bars and things like that, I don't think that's good. Like, to me, that's not like a lot of these like fake health foods are not good, you know?
Especially when eating excess. But a lot of these bodybuilders that are dropping dead, I don't know the intricate aspects of the drug use, but I do know that, if your blood is getting thicker and you lack cardiovascular efficiency and your heart's now having to pump this thick blood through your fucking hypertrophied ass veins, it's not. You still see guys like High Green and Jay Cutler do cardio every single day. There's a reason for that. So
It's rare to see a Jay Cutler, somebody that's gotten that big and like he looks very healthy all the time.
You can also look up a guy like Roely Winkler. I don't know if you
Oh,
remember him.
yeah.
He's downsized a lot. He looks pretty
Roely
good
Winkler,
too.
yeah.
Yeah. But that's the interesting thing, man. And that's why it's so cool to see what Mark is doing in terms of the running, in terms of the movement, because I'm going to be real.
Oh yeah, Roly Winkler was huge. Like he's like one of the, look at that on the left, top left. That's like crazy size, and he's not like that anymore, but he still looks really good. I think Dexter Jackson looks great.
Dexter Jackson does look great.
He downsized a lot. And he looks awesome.
But I'm gonna be real, man. Like
that's crazy.
I mean, I've been doing the podcast with Mark for a few years now, but before, I was kind of scared for him, man, because I didn't know what he was doing. But I was just like, doing this for this long, like it's gotta have drawbacks. I was kind of scared for him, but seeing all the things that he's doing now in terms of running and moving and taking care of himself in that way, it's not like he was not taking care of himself, but he got huge at a certain point. You know,
well,
what I mean?
if you look at Mark, he only was on heavy steroids for like a couple of years, and then he went off of them.
Yeah,
and it's interesting to see that because like. So after Bigger, Stronger, Faster, there's actually a deleted scene of Bigger, Stronger, Faster where Mad Dog, Smelly, and we all go get our hearts scanned to see if we have any plaque or calcium in our heart or any of our organs due to steroid use. They put Mad Dog through the thing, and this is about 6 months before he died.
Yeah.
They put him through this scanner, and they said, you're in the 94th percentile of plaque on your heart. Like, you're going to die if you don't do something about this. They said to Mark and I, despite you being on a ton of steroids, you came out completely clean, is what they said to Mark. When they said, and what they said to me is, well, you didn't take any steroids, and your arteries are completely clean and free and clear.
Yeah.
So our brother Mad Dog, who had a tendency to like eat bad, take steroids, and do a lot of other drugs, was in a real bad spot. And then Mark and I were in a real good spot, despite because when Mark was that big in powerlifting, for the most part, getting up there, he was fairly healthy most of the time. And then when he got up to the 330 real fat mark that you see, that was like really stuffing down 2-3 king size candy bars a day. I remember because Mark had always been so healthy. He went from eating like salmon and salad to basically
don't lie to
eating.
me, that man ate a salad?
Yes.
Wow.
And this is how he used to be. Like he was very diligent with his food and everything was perfect. Then he went from that to adding in like 3 or 4 king size candy bars at the end of the day. And I would come up to visit him from LA. Yeah. And I'd go to the store with him at the end of the night, and his face is like out to here. I'm just thinking like, this isn't good, man.
You
I don't care how much
blood pressure.
Yeah, like I don't care how much you lift. This isn't good. But he didn't care. He was like on his mission to do these things, and he did it. You know, and that's commendable actually. Like now, could he done it without 3-4 king size candy bars? Maybe, but that's not the way he wanted to do it. And he had fun doing it. And he said, like, once he got done with all that, and I think I told him this, but I think he already knew. I was like, well, once you get in really good shape and you have this slingshot business, that's when things will really blow up. And that's what really happened for him. But I think he already knew that because when he decided to like downsize and retire from powerlifting and get off everything, it was a definite decision, and it was definite like hard stop. Like he was just done with it. Yeah, you know.
But that's a really cool thing that he was able to transition, because you don't see many people who are, let's say that they were a big time bodybuilder or a big time powerlifter, and they're able to transition to something. Because I hate to say it,
Mark's the king of transitioning.
Yeah, but when I say bodybuilding, because I know a lot of older natural bodybuilders that are fucking healthy.
Yeah,
because they're just doing it. It's part of their habits, so they're still healthy. But if you go the route of an NPC bodybuilder, you can't do that forever and come out fairly unscathed. Big time powerlifter, maybe. You know, it's less risky because I don't think those guys are on as much stuff. But in terms of your ability to move your body with freedom, so having minimal bodily restriction, you have to do a lot of other things if you're planning on doing powerlifting for a very long time, or else it might be hard to move in certain ways. But Mark has been able to transition very successfully into doing something like running, locomotion, where he's running miles. He's ran 13, 14, 15 miles, and he's maintained a good amount of size, and he's really fucking healthy.
Yeah.
You know? So
It looks great.
It's really impressive.
It's interesting you talk about like natural bodybuilding, because I feel like natural bodybuilding is a great thing to pursue. Like, not because you're like, oh, I'm natural and you're not, but the idea of natural bodybuilding is there's not a lot of leeway for the things I talked about before, for the bad food to come in. You know, like with all these bodybuilders that'll, you know, it's like people are stuffing down Sour Patch Kids saying it's part of their bodybuilding program, which is just complete horseshit. Like, you don't need to eat Sour Patch Kids.
There are guys that do that too.
Yeah,
There
are, but I feel like there's less leeway to mess around like that a lot. You know.
So, in a sense, there is, but like I know a lot of because a lot of those guys track, so they'll fit certain things in.
Yeah, you can fit it in.
But I know a lot of natural bodybuilders who are in their early 50s, late 50s, 60s, still looking great, still doing awesome, because they're not battering their body with a lot of different substances over time.
Sure.
It's like, again, this isn't something that natural is better than not. That's not what I'm saying. But when we look at the longevity aspect of things, you think about how long can I compete in this sport? How long can I do it? Like, you did it in your 30s, cool. Can you do that in your 50s? I know so many natural guys that are doing it successfully and they look great in their 50s because they haven't battered their body with a bunch of substances. And that's pretty cool. But the thing is, it's not, we were talking about this yesterday, but not popular because they're big. They are big. They do look impressive. You look at like 3DMJ Godfather, Jeff Alberts. He's about to turn 50, 51.
What's his name?
Jeff Alberts, but on Instagram, he's 3DMJ Godfather. We had him on the podcast. Look at him. Fucking looks amazing, right? And he's going to be competing for years to come. He's not putting his body through shit because he's not using anything. But he's doing it for a long time. And I find that really impressive. And I actually find that to be healthy. But the other side of bodybuilding, the NPC side of bodybuilding, either side though, getting that lean isn't necessarily healthy. But the longevity aspect is healthier.
There you go.
You know what I mean? Like, but he doesn't look like a Chris Bumstead. He doesn't look like a fucking.
He's shredded.
He's shredded, and he is like when you pull up he's pretty big, right? But he's gonna be able to do this probably until the day he dies.
Yeah.
Without risking his heart, without risking his true health. And I just wish that some of these guys would be able to get more recognition because, you know, they're doing it for a long fucking time.
And it's hard to get recognition when there's people that are, you know, twice
three
the size
times
of you.
bigger than you. You know
what they took or what they did. You know.
Yeah, and I don't. This is not a moral thing. It's more so a health thing. Like, which one is actually healthier? This is healthier. Getting that lean, no one can say is healthy.
Yeah.
But is it healthier? Is it something that can be done for longer amounts of time, deep into your 50s, 60s, 70s? Yes.
It is interesting because I remember when I first started doing a carnivore diet, I figured like, well, if you ate no carbs for like a long time, wouldn't you just get shredded and shredded and shredded? And I talked to Dr. Baker about it. Of course, he always has a reasonable explanation.
Yeah.
And he said, well, if you go back to the time of the cavemen, they weren't like shredded. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like, yeah, they didn't eat any carbs. They didn't even have any carbs.
Yeah.
So like, he's like a normal body weight would be like, a normal body fat would be like anywhere from like 10 to 12% would be as low as they would get. Like they wouldn't be bodybuilder ripped. And it's like, it's funny because like we have this warped mentality of that because we've seen it so much.
Yeah.
You know, but when I was thinking about, I said, Dr. Baker, no offense, but why aren't you, like, you're in great shape, but why aren't you completely shredded? Like, are you lying to me? Are you eating something else? And he's like, well, no, because I eat a normal amount of food.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be 10 to 12%.
Dude, when I got that lean for my shows in 2015, I lost my libido for like a good 6 months before I had to hit the stage. You know, I had no sex drive. With the girl I was with at the time, I was just a mouth because I didn't want to fuck her because I was so lean and my test was probably in the shitter. You know what I mean? So when you get that lean, it's not healthy. That's why you're in it and then you dip the fuck out. Get the fuck out. Have
you had your testosterone levels checked? I know we're sponsored by Merrick Health. I don't know if you use them as well.
Yeah, we do use them.
Yeah.
I did my blood work late last year. I'm actually supposed to do my blood work. Keep forgetting to go and just do that because I want to get my levels checked again. My test is around. I got it tested once. It was like 730. Got it tested again. It was like 680, but it was a little bit later in the day. So I want to get it checked again just to kind of see where I'm at. But I'm usually within the high sixes, low sevens.
I'd love to run some experiments with Merrick. I want to talk to them about it, but I was thinking that like, I was like waiting till I turn 50, which is tomorrow. So I was like saying, oh, I'll take the TRT up until I hit 50. And then what I want to do is kind of experiment, because I feel that I am so much healthier now. Like I said, my knee pain went away. Like that hasn't happened before. I'm sleeping better. Like there's a lot of health changes that are going on with me. They could be related to my testosterone being more normal, but also like, in my opinion, the human body on a normal human diet would regenerate. And maybe I don't have to be on testosterone. I'm not saying that like I need to go off of it for any reason, but I'm just wondering for myself, like, seems like it would make sense that your body would like rebound and come back. And I just want to see if it does.
You mean like coming off of TRT?
I'd be interested in coming off of it and seeing like, because, like I'm like you, I know what I've done naturally, and I've gone pretty damn far naturally without taking anything. So, and it's just like, again, not a moral judgment or anything, just a test for myself to see like, will my testosterone actually rebound, or am I stuck on this taking injections forever? Because to be honest, I don't like it.
Yeah.
It
will. I mean, because guys have done it. It just takes a while. It's kind of a waiting game, and with whatever you got to do, but it will.
I'd just be interested in seeing.
Yeah.
It will, and then like how long will it take to do that? And
what's another a small interesting thing is that company Let's Get Checked.
Yes.
I did a testosterone test. Because I sent us a few things like back in 2018 or 19. Actually, I think it was 2019. And it's a finger prick. And I was at 1,001 nanograms per deciliter. But when I actually got the blood drawn, and I had my testosterone checked a few years before that out of hospital just to see what it was at. And I was like, again, I think it was somewhere within the sevens. So I got that finger prick. I'm like, oh shit, 1,001 grams per deciliter. But then when I got it done with Merrick again, because again, they take the blood from here. It's not a finger prick.
Yeah.
It was like, the first test was like 720, 730. The second time I got it a few months later, it was like 680 something. But that just shows that the way you get your testosterone checked matters. Because it's not that I actually had 1,001 grams per deciliter free testosterone. It's because of the nature of the test. Like, it just shows that like, you should probably, if you get a finger prick done, you should probably stick to getting a finger prick. Or if you get intravenous or whatever the fuck they call this, you need to stick to that. Because that was really weird. I was like, shit, that's awesome. 1,001?
Yeah.
But that probably wasn't accurate.
I think I want to say that the finger prick, Let's Get Checked, is not always very accurate.
Yeah.
I don't usually say that because they sponsor a lot of people that are usually posting about it.
But I was personally super pumped. I was like,
but I don't think it is as accurate as
measuring from the bottom. It's kind of like measuring from the bottom.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like you say you want to measure your bicep and you push it up.
Are you talking your bicep?
I see what you did there. I got it. Yeah, measure from the base, bro. Measure from the base.
Yeah, I'm wondering because like Merrick Health, they always want you to do,
that's how it's done
from the tap.
Yeah, and that's how my first ever test was done when I got it done in the hospital. Like they did from here, they didn't do a finger prick. But I do think, like, again, that's just an N of 1. That's a one-time thing. But my testosterone apparently jumped by 300 when I got it a finger prick, but went back down by 200 when I got it done this way again. That or I was on a cycle.
Just always get the finger prick, and it'll always be higher.
Yeah. But I do wonder about that, because that was very odd. But I was like, maybe I'm doing something different. I don't think I was doing anything different, though.
Well, let's wrap this up so you can get back to your regular scheduled podcast with Smelly Bell.
Yeah.
Where can people find you? Where can they find more information about you?
Yeah, obviously, Mark Bell's Power Project. You guys can check that out on YouTube. At Nsima Inyang on Instagram and YouTube, at Nsima Inyang on TikTok and Twitter.
Cool. And I don't get to say things to you often that I really mean and are serious, but I want to tell you that you're a true inspiration to this gym. You're an awesome addition to our family. I feel like you're kind of part of our extended family here, as is like Russell and some of these other guys. And we love having you around. So I just wanted to thank you for being an awesome inspiration to everybody that walks through these doors.
Thanks, Chris. I appreciate it.
Love you, buddy.
Thank you.
Yeah.